Hello and welcome as we soar like an eagle into a new episode of Generic Sports Podcast. I am your host, the Goose, Josh, and this is Bossa Nova Eagle. Jones, Bossa Nova Jones.
Fly Eagles fly. Bossa Nova.
We didn't know how to really talk about the Super Bowl beforehand because we really weren't looking forward to it.
No, not in the slightest.
It was the two teams we didn't really want, and personally, I didn't feel like the Chiefs played that great to even get to this level. Let alone we'll talk about it more, but I truly felt like the refs helped them out to get to the Super Bowl, and
They did.
and we'll get into it more, but it showed. And the Eagles, it was just like, well, we didn't really the Eagles played great all season. We just weren't looking forward to having a repeat of that Super Bowl. So from 2 years ago.
I feel like a lot of people wanted the Lions in it, but
Well, I mean, the
and
Lions
wanted Jaden Daniel and
Yeah.
and were excited for Jaden Daniel. But
I mean, a lot of it is like us. We don't hate the Eagles. We hate Eagles fans.
and really just the toxic fans that I know.
Like every group has toxic fans, but the Eagles feel like there's a majority of them are toxic, despicable, like kind of.
They're very loud and annoying, and they're like the type of fans that got Doug Peterson fired after winning the Super Bowl for.
Well, and it's not even that. It's just that when you see these videos of them like grabbing, like mocking fans of the other team, and like grabbing their basic stealing from them, like hats or beanies or whatever from fans of the Commanders, like it's like you're and the one the I think it was a doctor or somebody, some guy that got fired for mocking a Packers fan while she was at the game for the playoffs. Like, it's just that kind of disgusting behavior. Nobody likes. We don't. I mean, we usually see, it's like when you come together as an Eagles fan and Commander fan and chant, Dallas sucks. That's not hurting anybody. Like,
Right.
Like that's making fun of another team. Which is fine, because you're it's like it's all in good, sportsmanship, little, rivalry and stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
sports rivalry is like in shit talking each other. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's just healthy fandom. But when you're like doing negative stuff and theft or anything like that we don't want to see that.
yeah, that's what hurts a team. Because I mean, bad fans and bad ownership for a while there. Washington, I couldn't stand because of Dan Snyder. Now Washington, awesome. Because they got rid of the part that made me not like them. So
Right.
I will say that and one of the more positive experiences I had was with a Raiders fan, and we'll talk about the NFL honors, but we were talking on Twitter. I saw his tweet about like he understood Jaden Daniels had a good season and deserved it. But I said honestly, I thought Brock Bowers deserved it just as much, if not more. Like, I think that. Because he broke rookie records for receiving, not just tight end records, but wide receiver records.
We're too much of a quarterback-driven league that
Hold on. Save that thought because I was just going to say, like, it was more about the fan experience than actually who won it. But with Brock Bowers, it was just like me saying, as a Broncos fan, I thought a Raider deserved it, and he congratulated, was like, it's like, but like kind of like, your boy got, defensive player of the year with PS2, and said like that was like earned, deserved, and stuff like that, like respectable, from division rivals, and that's how it should be.
Right, but there are good Eagles fans out there, and I am happy for the ones that don't cause trouble for for people.
Yes. So while we're on the topic of the Eagles, let's start with the game, because I feel like that's the most important thing to talk about. Well, in my opinion, the Eagles defense was the true MVP. Vic Fangio,
as I was saying off top. On the was going to go off the other topic, and I can bring it back. As it's a quarterback-driven league, it still didn't make sense here that the defense didn't get a defensive player to get the MVP, because yes, Jalen Hurts did well, and taking nothing away from him, they win this game because of the defense.
Oh yeah, they I mean, they scored, I think, 17 points off defense, because like Cooper DeJean, that interception, I really thought that was where the game started to change. Like the feel of it was changing. He got an interception off a pass that Patrick Mahomes doesn't usually make. It felt like where he was beginning of the season and stuff, like where it was he was just kind of rocky, where he had some of those games where it was like 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions or something like that, and then he didn't look like, that was where you could see like he didn't look like he was playing with the right energy, not having any fun, and I think the pressure got to him, and you could see it, because like, I don't know, he didn't see Cooper DeJean. Like it felt like, if I'm remembering it correctly, like it kind of came out. That's what safeties do, is like, you know, usually you see the safety, you know, like he's one that usually sees the safety and throws it, like, you know, in a safe location. I didn't feel like he did that this time, and that's why they got the pick six, and that's where it began to change. And that, I would have given it, if you could do co-MVPs, it would have been Cooper DeJean and Josh Sweat. But my main guy was Josh Sweat. Like, he 2.5 sacks. He was disrupting, and I believe he was the guy that knocked Patrick Mahomes, the offensive lineman, into Patrick Mahomes to just kind of unease the second interception. So he was the cause of an interception. 2.5 sacks, tons of pressure. I just thought Josh Sweat played, you know, magnificently for a and not to say like the whole defense didn't, but like he was the player that I just felt made such a, you know, the unsung hero. Like, it really is the unsung hero, because he didn't get the MVP, and you know he really won that game.
Put a lot of it's like, yeah, a lot of Jalen Hurts. Like,
not to say that Jalen Hurts did bad.
He did what he needed to do. They stopped Saquon, but really, like, the defense broke Patrick Mahomes, and when the heck is Patrick Mahomes broken? Like,
right, never, like he does not have many games where it's he loses by 3 scores. I think it's 5.
Right.
There was just so many, so much on that defensive line, and those like you know, you saw Patrick Mahomes. He was shaken. He was playing not like himself.
He was James Bond's Martini. He was shaken, not. Actually, he was worse. He was shaken and stirred.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, like, for, you know, it very much reminded me of Jalen Hurts didn't play bad. It reminds me of like Russell Wilson, or and maybe even like Tom Brady he like, I will say Jalen Hurts, I think, played better than like Ben Roethlisberger did in Super Bowls, and I don't really remember his numbers, but like Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, but like I remember Ben Roethlisberger, like that was the defense winning, you know, like, but he did but the big thing with Jalen Hurts, I give him credit, I just don't think he was MVP. He played great. Like, he played great. He played how a quarterback, you know, should. I felt like he led the offense, did what he had to do, and did all that escapability that you usually see from Patrick Mahomes. He got it. I was like, oh no, he's gonna get sacked. Nope, he runs up and escaped. Like he played great. So don't get me wrong. Jalen Hurts played great. He was wonderful. I just think that if the defense doesn't shake up the offensive line, like completely dominate them, because they didn't do any blitzing, and it was just all pressure and 4-man pressure on 5 guys. Yeah. And Jalen Carter was double teamed. So yeah, if you don't rattle Patrick Mahomes, you know, if that defense doesn't play like they do, it's probably a shootout. and I think the Chiefs would win that. So that's why I think the defense. This game was very much like, and it's the first team since the 2015 Broncos that the number one ranked defense won a championship, like overall defense, and it felt very much like the Broncos 2015 defense, as well as painstakingly that game was very much a reminder of the Super Bowl 48 when the Seahawks beat the Broncos in that kind of dominant fashion as well.
Well, the best defense. Well,
so I just want to. Like I gotta say, like hats off and round of applause to Vic Fangio and the defensive coaches and the defensive players, because in my opinion, you won that Super Bowl.
Well, this leads to me to a few points. One, I agree that either Josh Sweat, or I thought like Cooper DeJean honestly was going to win like the MVP because of the pick six, and that he kind of like stirred the momentum. I mean that drive went sack pick six, like really just it didn't even turn the tide because like the Chiefs really couldn't do anything till like the fourth quarter. And
I just wanted to say really quick. It reminds me of what you said when we were talking about the game last night. Like nobody would have bet money on the birthday boy got the touchdown. Yeah. Nobody, and I'm sure there was a bet about like Saquon making a touchdown if there was a pick six, and I'm sure like if you could have bet Cooper DeJean. If you did, because it was their birthday, you probably made a good chunk of money on that prop bet. And it's just like what you said. It's like nobody had Cooper DeJean making a touchdown over Saquon Barkley.
Right, that they both share a birthday, and that DeJean had the Super Bowl touchdown.
Can't imagine much happier birthdays than
I think even you talked about it, that we said we should take the bet of Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown. Glad we didn't.
Whew, yeah, I remember that. I did, because it was... Oh no, it was from a meme, because I saw something about like the government being like trillions of dollars in debt, and they were like, it's the prop odds were like minus 190. They should build, but man, the government would have been in more debt or something for that, because he didn't get any touchdown. So that's the only reason I mentioned it, because I saw it on a meme.
Oh, but yeah, basically, so I think the defense did a hell of a job, but what it comes down to is like how I was going into is that a quarterback just needs to do like a good to great job, and like nothing like super spectacular, and can beat out like any other player doing a spectacular job, because we put so much weight on the quarterback, and that's just how it feels like with awards, whether it was from the NFL honors or the Super Bowl MVP. And it kind of is ridiculous that you like just give a quarterback award. I mean, the Super Bowl MVP is difficult, and I think like people get a vote on that too. So if people are just voting Jalen Hurts because Jalen Hurts, I mean I get it, but like
I get, like, I'll put it towards you this way: he wasn't my top choice, but he was like number 3. If I had to say like the 3 players I remember most, it's like I thought Josh Sweat, Cooper DeJean. Then I have no problem saying like Jalen Hurts was third. Yeah. Or the only other player, I don't think he would get it, but some props to Jake Elliott. Jake Elliott scored a lot of points in that game.
Oh well, like field goal kickers winning that should have won MVP should have happened back 20 years ago when Vinatieri, whatever, I forget.
Yeah, Vinatieri.
When Vinatieri won the Super Bowls for the Patriots, he literally won the game for them. Like, these field goal kickers win the game.
Right.
Win or lose the game, they get none of the credit. They get none of the credit unless they lose.
Right.
Field goal kickers, they get no. It's like one of the most thankless jobs. It's like they will not get the credit they deserve for winning games, but they will get all of the credit for losing games.
Kickers are people too. But honestly, he could have been MVP too, because he had such a tough season and was, if I'm not mistaken, perfect in the Super Bowl. And there was a couple wobbly ones. There was one I thought was going to the right. I'm like, oh god. And he hit 50-yarder. He hit a 50-yarder too. So, and he had a tough season with. I think he was 1 for 7 for 50-yarders, and I think he just made his second in the Super Bowl this season. So
Yeah, he was not good. And
so he deserves a lot of credit for making those points, because if you think about all those points they didn't have, like there could have been a comeback.
Yeah.
They got, I think, 12 field goals, or 12 points off field goals or something
12
like that.
field goals. I mean, they could have won just with that.
Yeah.
That the 12 field goals is more points than the Chiefs scored.
I mean, there have been a couple games where teams won with just field goals, so it's
Right? I mean, if the Super Bowl was won just by the kicker making field goals, then I have to believe the kicker should win the MVP.
yes. As far as
And I mean, a kicker at least did win NFL MVP before a wide receiver has. So
yeah, that's still a crazy stat, fact, whatever you want to call it.
yeah.
Anyways, anything else you want to add about the defense?
It was nice seeing them disrupt and sack Patrick Mahomes. Patrick really didn't do anything till like the fourth quarter when they were playing backups.
Yeah,
I think they had one good drive before that. Like,
they did. That was where they got the 6 points, and
that was all they could do, and it was just amazing to see like that was really worried about the three-peat the entire time, like the weeks before, and then it's like, oh well, I guess the Eagles didn't want it as much as the rest of us.
yeah, they really did want it.
So it was just good to see.
Yeah, but yeah, as far as Jalen Hurts, like honestly, I don't know where I place him, because his quarterback play doesn't necessarily wow me like some of the others that we talk about, but he is a good quarterback.
He has a few throws in the Super Bowl that he's like
The Devonta Smith one
he does
was
throw
really
a lot of like great balls at times, and I think he has potential to be one of the greats, but hey, I mean, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson might end up like Dan Marino. You know, you might have the stats, but without a Super Bowl, how really good are you? It's like stats versus like Super Bowl wins. What's really more important at times?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Jalen Hurts was on the best team, the best built team, and that's how you win Super Bowls, is being a part of the best built team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the two best teams built this season were the Eagles and the Lions, and the Lions just got injured too much. Like
There's no amount of like backups and moves you can make to replace how many people you lose. You can't, like, there's no amount of fixing that, like, especially after like a trade deadline's gone, and
yeah,
you can't. There's not that many great players off the street. You do what you have, and you just try to survive. And the Eagles really weren't that hurt and injured by the end of it. Really, it's the best team that survives the war of attrition. And if you're not injured, well, yeah, you can go dominate this Super Bowl like you did.
Yeah. All right. So anything else? Saquon played good. He didn't have, like, I know he beat Terrell Davis's all time like most yards in a whole season, postseason included. But it wasn't the greatest season because he didn't get Super Bowl MVP. He didn't get a touchdown. He didn't have 100 yards. So
I mean, he did have 97 yards, 97 yards from scrimmage, so it wasn't like it was the worst game.
No. Like, if I look at like the stats,
he was a key piece from the rushes he did have, the blocking, the pass protecting he was doing, and he was such a threat that they decided to shut him down and force Jalen Hurts to throw, and Jalen Hurts paid off.
Yeah, no, that's actually what I was gonna say, was that he would have won me, like he got it, like in a fantasy stuff, like he got a lot of points. He did what he had to do. He had a great catch that set them up. So I even said when I was watching, I'm like, I'm like, redemption for the Falcons game that they lost. So and that and yeah, he played good. He played how they needed him to play, and they kept running him.
Mhm.
Like it wasn't that they stopped trying. They kept running. He kept trying to go, and that was what mattered. So as far as the rest of the team, everybody, I felt like everybody got the ball that usually did. I thought
And
just
more.
Jahan Dotson. Right, yeah.
Yeah, Jahan Dotson made plays like
Made 8 plays that really,
like
energized them at first. And I will say that, and we'll get into the Chiefs here in a moment because I think we've talked a good chunk on the Eagles. But the Chiefs, that first flag felt really iffy when with the offensive pass interference. And then then there was a flag. Then there was a flag on their next possession that kind of felt like that was on the Chiefs, so it gave the Eagles a first down. It felt like everything kind of evened out. So I felt like it was a fairly clean game, even though there were some, even though I think there were more flags on the Eagles because they kept messing up on special teams.
right.
But the only other thing I will add is that I swear that they only did the tush push once.
Yeah, it was not done many times, and I don't remember it being used besides the time they scored a touchdown with it.
Right. So I mean, maybe that I almost feel like they watched the Buffalo game, show what not to do and stuff like that.
I think they were so successful, the Eagles, that they were never really in a position that they needed to do it.
Yeah, they had some fourth downs, but they went for
They were
it in
never
other ways. So
well, they were never close enough. They were never like 4th and 1 close enough.
yeah, it was
to do
4th and 3, and I think they went for it once, and I think
Yeah, there were a few 4th down conversions they did, but they were never close enough to do. I don't think they were close enough to do the tush push. So that's why we never really saw the tush push.
Right now, as far as the Chiefs go, I will say that Mahomes. We said Mahomes felt rattled, and I think he is he is the biggest reason why they lost that game. I think I feel like I think Andy Reid deserves. I don't know. Like I didn't feel like they tried enough. Maybe their gadget plays where it's like stuff that just kind of went unexpected, because maybe if you do that early on, maybe it gives you a little bit of a spark. And I felt like that wasn't. And yeah, I get the defense was pressuring and stuff, but maybe try something in the Wildcat. Maybe try an end around. I mean, you have Xavier Worthy. You want him to get going like that. That could have got him going. So I think there's a good as much as Mahomes was rattled. I think that as the head coach and the play caller, Andy Reid deserves as much scrutiny for not adapting and stuff. Like I felt like he kind of froze.
I kind of agree. Also, but I will say the thing that needs. I know if Patrick Mahomes blamed them. Said put the blame on him. It really wasn't putting the blame on him, because the offensive line couldn't hold the defensive line of the Eagles. The offensive line of the Chiefs is where it all collapses. Even if you tried any of those trick plays, they probably wouldn't have worked because the offensive line couldn't hold anything.
Well, I mean, that's also why I said end around or certain.
Well, I know we run the end around, and I know we sometimes run the end around in Madden, and if the offensive line doesn't hold up, it's like a loss for 4 yards, 2 to 4 yards.
Well, I mean, sometimes it's the cornerback still getting us 2. So
right, and I'm just still right. So I just don't think they had. Patrick Mahomes didn't have enough.
I'm not saying that it would have worked. I'm just saying at some point maybe try it to get a spark.
Yes, they should have tried. They should have tried it. I don't, and I think it would have. They should have tried to run the ball more too. Like they put everything in Patrick's hands, but at the time they were losing so badly, they had to really abandon the. Really had to try to throw it all the time.
Well, they kept trying to use Pacheco as like a blocker. I think P. Ryan needed to be out there more. I mean, he can do a little of everything. So, I mean, I know he's not necessarily I just think he, and same thing with Kareem Hunt. I mean, Pacheco is not. I don't feel like he's the blocking one of those running backs. So, I mean, maybe none of them are exactly a blocker, but even have maybe Noah Gray in that position or somebody. I mean, that was a name I didn't hear at all.
But
I don't think he got a target at all. But
well, I mean, Yeah,
and early on it was, and I will say it wasn't just Mahomes. Like I think Hollywood Brown missed a catch, Travis Kelce missed a catch. I think I forget if Hopkins missed a catch. I think there were a few missed bobbles and stuff that just were like uncharacteristic of those players.
I think
let me just finish this last thought. The pressure, I really think the pressure got to them, and with like maybe even Hopkins and Brown being like in as much as some of them going for the third Super Bowl, just being part of their first Super Bowl and being a part of the three-peat might have even felt more immense pressure, not just their first Super Bowl, but the team's third in a row. So it was a double kind of pressure on them.
Yeah, I could see that being more pressure, but I just want to state this, and it is that so there's no double standard. The quarterback cannot if we don't believe in quarterback wins, then I don't believe in quarterback loss. I don't really believe in quarterback losses either. It was a team loss. Y'all fucked up.
He did do a big chunk of the losing though, because other than that, I don't want to say it was kind of in garbage time because they took out their starters, and I know Mahomes could have left the game, but he didn't want to give up, and I totally understand that. I totally get that. That's in his character. But like those, I don't want to say those stats were padded, but he was really bad in that Super Bowl until like the end of the fourth quarter when
Yeah, the fourth quarter stats are the only thing saving Mahomes. I mean, it was 34 to nothing. Like you don't really come back. The only team I remember coming back from anything close to that was like the Dolphins against the Ravens, like a couple of years ago in the but that's in the regular season. Like you don't really come back from a deficit like this, and it's just that, the offensive line sucked. The wide receivers and tight end didn't make catches. The running backs didn't really do much. The defense couldn't stop. The defense, they looked good. They were still as solid as ever, but they were still getting plays made against them. They were basically without the refs and dark magic helping them. These are what the Chiefs were. The Chiefs were exposed as the frauds they are.
I need to give credit to the defense because even though they put 40 on them, there was the pick six. There were 2 interceptions, and I think one of them went for an interception. One went for a touchdown, and one ended up in a field goal. That is 17 points, and then without them, that is that is 23. That I think that's like those points. I think were not the defense's fault, especially the pick six, because and 2 of them were in the red zone, so like they were already 20.
Okay,
they were already in the red zone when.
To be fair.
Oh, one was an interception. One was a fumble.
I will grant them the picks. I will grant them the pick six, and I will give them the 3 points. But you still but the touchdown, I'll give them 10 points. But the touchdown, they still could have tried to get to another field goal.
Yeah, I mean, it's still. I mean, they stopped Saquon too. So like they
did stop Saquon. I will give them credit for stopping Saquon, but
I'm not giving them I felt like the offense of the Chiefs failed. I will give them that the Chiefs defense at least showed up and played. Like I thought that they were above average. Like they were, they didn't really they got an interception. I think they got the Hurts and yeah, they stopped Saquon. So like it truly wasn't on the Chiefs defense.
I'm just what I'm just saying is that yes, they are not I'm not saying that I'm basically just trying to spread the wealth around that they all had issues, that the Chiefs had issues on everything, less issues on defense. There were many more issues on offense, and and honestly, they didn't have any benefits from special teams because that was just normal. Like I remember one year they had I forget if it was against the Eagles when Kadarius Toney had the run back.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like it's like they had nothing like that to help them. So they were really like fractured on two of the three fronts of.
Special teams, I'd say the Eagles won special teams. The Eagles won all three phases, but the Chiefs' defense was the one that at least came to play.
Yes, they did. Yeah, they did come to play, and they did. I mean, the Eagles didn't like run through them, but I mean, they did have a lot of good passes.
I'm trying to think of how else to analyze this game because okay, let's like the last real thing on it is back from where we were talking about the beginning and stuff. Like, do you see? This is why a lot of people were unhappy with the Chiefs and said like, oh, they got away with certain things, like the end of the Raiders game where Aiden O'Connell like fumbles it away because they thought the play was dead and it wasn't, and it was all like these flags that helped them. It's amazing to see how when the game's called evenly, because there were flags in the beginning of the game, and I think that it was fine. But do you see how it was called? They basically let them play the game. I mean, it was surprising to see what both teams were able to get away with, because there were some I thought that maybe there would have been a face mask or a hit to the helmet on Mahomes, but at the same time, that was after he after he fumbled the ball away. So as it being a live ball, he wasn't like the passer. So maybe that was why we didn't get that penalty.
Right.
That was the one that I was surprised didn't happen. But there were some calls where I'm like,
there actually was a penalty on them. I forget for what, but when Patrick Mahomes fumbled the ball, Philly still got the ball, but there was a penalty on that play.
Oh, that was because the guy celebrated with the the ball going into the
goalpost.
Yeah, like dunking it on the goalpost. So
okay.
So yeah, see that, I mean that was a good one that they called. So it was there. I'm trying to think if there were some from the. I mean, I know that first one with the offensive pass interference went the Chiefs' way, and that was the one that I'm trying to think if there were any that weren't called. But like that's the thing, they really let them play as the game continued to go on. Like there was no unless it was special teams. I don't believe there were really any like false starts. There were no holding penalties. Well, there were some holding penalties because there were some egregious ones. You basically had to be egregious on that one, and
there were
you could see when they were egregious because they couldn't stop that pass rush.
What was it? There was the one
with the Chiefs could not stop that. There was one that wasn't called on the. That was it. There was one on the Chiefs when they first scored. I was just like, oh wait, where's the hold on the There was a hold, like the offensive lineman was holding one of the, I think Jalen Carter or something. Like he was looking for the flag, and I was just like, oh, there, like see, so they did miss some for both teams. Thank you for reminding me of that. Like,
there was the one on the I know they called some like the offsides penalty. I'm like, why are you running? The guy jumped. It would have been a pick six if it wasn't a free play for the Chiefs.
Oh, you want to know why he kept running? Because I noticed it, and I think it was a smart move. It killed more of the clock. Because it's still an active play, so for whatever reason, you would think that they could just call it dead, but
they didn't.
They didn't. Because maybe I guess you could pick it up if you didn't think it was, but if that that killed about 10 or more extra seconds on the clock. I'd have to go back and check it, but from the time the snap went off and stuff, it was probably a good 20 seconds that they killed from running that all the way back. So
yeah, the Super Bowl could have been worse if that play if they didn't if he didn't jump off sides.
Right. So my point being, without getting too into it, because it's it's already history and whatnot, but when you see that, it's like I've gone from scripted to kind of rigged, because you don't need as many people to rig something if you're just doing the refs and stuff. Because like it is a fair thing. Like there's probably too many people involved. But if we all talk about somebody wanting to rig the refs helping rig a game and just calling it more in favor, that's actually more. It's probably highly unlikely, but it is more plausible of a way to, have it explained. But when you get rid of, and that's the thing, like they won way too many games by one score, and they just didn't feel like this super team that was going to dominate everybody. And it goes back to the Buffalo game where, it's like with the refs, like when we say it was like the whole week, days after the Buffalo game, I kept remembering it was on the fourth down. I remember the ref was running out. One of the sideline judges, the judge that saw where the ball was when Josh Allen had it, running out on the line to gain, like he gained the first down. The guy who Josh Allen's back was to said he was short. The guy who said he was short was the one that they went with. I don't understand it, because it doesn't make any sense, because he didn't have a view of the ball. So explain to me how that guy can supersede the guy who could see where the ball is.
Well, basically, that gets to the point of, I think the NFL wanted, being rigged, they wanted the threat of the 3P. Because it was the biggest story, the Chiefs needed to be in it, so the option of the 3P could happen, and then they just said, well, we'll let them play. We needed the Chiefs in there, but we didn't need them to win. We wanted the three-peat to be a talking point. We didn't care if they won, great. If they didn't, great too. It was great for them either if they won or not.
Well, and I think it's just like how you were saying yesterday. It's like,
and about the the dark magic is like angels in the outfield. Like it doesn't work in the Super Bowl.
All right, you gotta actually play the game in the.
The dark magic.
But here's the thing with Angels in the outfield. It was for like the pennant. The pennant's actually not the World Series. It's the way to get to the World Series. It's the championship game. I think, if I remember that correctly.
I believe so.
I'm like, am I mixing it up with Major League? I forget, but. Or Major League 2, I should say, because I know that they were trying to get to the World Series or something in that game against the White Sox.
Both good baseball movies.
Yes. Anyways, I think that covers how we feel. I think that when you're getting questions and there's talk about the validity of the game and how it could be rigged or scripted, like when that conversation gets bigger and bigger, you truly have to question it, because it's not because sometimes you see things with your eyes and you're just like that's not a penalty. Like they're always helping the Chiefs, stuff like that. When you see it constantly, fans get annoyed and it can hurt your product. And that's the last thing. I think that was also the last thing is if people are questioning it, it hurts the product. You don't want to damage your product. So the refs, especially after that first call. And I think that they gave him a makeup. I don't know if I really want to say a makeup call, because I do think that there was enough for that call. But for that second call, I think that they just wanted to make it as fair as they could after those first couple that first call, because everybody was like, oh, and they even thought it on the game. They had the rules. I'm blanking on who the rules analyst for Fox was.
Mike Pereira?
Yes. Was like, I don't like that call. So when more and more, like Troy Aikman was on the call, when they had some of those calls, I think it was the Chiefs-Texans game, when Aikman and Buck and their rules, I forget if they also have Mike Pereira or whoever their rules analyst is, but when you hear like these guys questioning it up in the booth, that hurts the integrity of the game.
Yes.
And I think that's why we got why it felt different in the Super Bowl. Not because the Eagles won, but because the Chiefs weren't getting calls that they normally do, because it was hurting them. And I think we'll see that. I don't know if we'll see that in the ratings on this Super Bowl. I think if they were lower ratings and because nobody wanted to see the Chiefs, like I don't think the Chiefs are going to get some of those calls anymore. anymore, and I think that showed in the Super Bowl. I'm trying not to sound like, this conspiracy theorist, but I do think that there is something to, where people compare it to WWE, because, for a time, like, you still want to get the ratings. You're still something televised, and you still want to be making sure you've got money, and we're going to get into this in a different podcast, but the week leading up to the Super Bowl, the Luka Doncic trade for Anthony Davis completely swept most of the news for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like everybody could not believe it. So if that was just a move, if that was a move by the NBA to be like the commissioner allowing it or whatever, if there was just stuff like, oh yeah, let's do this, like an NBA All-Star for an NBA All-Star, that's gonna get the news buzzing for our league. Of course they're gonna do it, because again, it's gonna bring eyes and ears to the NBA. They capitalized on a weak Super Bowl week.
Yep.
And
totally did.
And all about and it's just like YouTube and us doing this podcast, like content, views, all of that. That's what that's what drives the money.
Mm-hmm.
So without getting political and stuff, this world, this country, this world is run by money. So why should we not think that there isn't something to it?
Right, with the with the teams all being ran by these guys who have a ton of money.
Right. So money isn't the old saying, like, money walks, bullshit.
No, that's money talks.
Money talks, bullshit walks. That I knew I had it, just reversed it. But that isn't. I mean, that's that's just how it feels when it's like when you want to it's all about bringing something to the table, and that's what I think. I think that's what the NBA did.
Mm-hmm.
So now we good to go on to honors, the NFL honors, and other news.
I have one really quick nitpick about the Super Bowl. And really, I think it was more the graphic designer in me that hated it. But the fonts, some of the fonts at the Super Bowl and the bottom screen of the Super Bowl drove me up a wall the entire time.
Why? Well, see, I know everybody hated it. I liked. Okay, I can understand the font. I liked that it was big and you could see their color.
Okay,
I like that.
So basically the font. So first of all, the font at the Super Bowl or whatever that had like some letters just really stretched out made a lot of things crazy weird to read. Like there were some signs that said Super Bowl and the O is a giant rectangle.
Okay, I didn't see that.
There are some fonts around you could see in the stadium that have a very weird font that just looks totally odd. The numbers on it they felt like they were missing like a drop shadow or a border or something. It just felt like they didn't stand out. They didn't pop enough. Like to me, like yes, they were big and able to be seen, but it just looked off to me compared to like every other broadcast I've seen this year on every channel. So I just felt like it was very basic.
I can understand those complaints. The only thing I liked was that it was big and colorful. They could have improved the other stuff and maybe had a little bit better of a. Like, I know that the team color, you could see the team colors, but then there was the box that was kind of like not like kind of clear, but not clear. Like it was kind of I forget, like, yeah, it's kind of transparent like, and that part I can see was difficult to see. I just really liked the color, so you could kind of see who had the ball, and and some
there
of the,
were some aspects that were good. There were some but most of it I'm like, this is going to drive me nuts. But since the Eagles were winning most of the time, it didn't bother me.
I like the goal line was in the, like, where it said like second and goal, second and 20 or whatever. Like it was in the color of the team, and it was near the team, so you knew who had the ball, because it helped our friend who was watching the Super Bowl with us, who didn't she is a Swiftie, and we had such a fun time watching it with her, because she was actually learning the game as it was going on. It was fun to and good for, I think, people maybe coming into it, but I can understand from some of the graphical stuff where it was troublesome.
I mean, also I think the thing with the saying it was like the down marker one. It was very weird that it would show first down and it was next to the timer, and then it would go like first and here. Like you had to wait a second to see what down the downage was.
Yeah, I didn't really pay attention too much to that, so
It drew my attention too much. If it drew my attention too much, where I should be watching the game, not how some poor schmo is doing bad graphic design at the bottom here, and probably getting probably getting paid a decent amount, or maybe not getting paid enough, and that's why they did it.
That might be the part.
And I probably did get paid enough compared to everything else getting money from the Super Bowl.
I mean, look at, I mean, Fox probably had to rent out a whole bunch of stuff and all that other thing, but hey, they got the money, but guess where they skimped? So my last thing was, I forget which table, I think it was Fox after in the post game and stuff. I just want to add before we go into the honors that Cooper DeJean and Saquon Barkley got birthday cake, and it looks so good. I want some.
The cake is gone.
Is it? Maybe they let have some leftovers. I just want to know.
Will not make it here.
I know. I'd just like to know where they got the cake because it looked that good. A lot of, like the birthday cake, rainbow sprinkles inside and all that. The frosting looked good. I really wanted cake after that Super Bowl. So, all right, now we'll move to.
Yes, after graphic design issues and cake, we can finally get back to football.
We'll move on to honors now. Well, there were some surprises. The MVP and Coach of the Year might be the biggest. For me, it was actually Coach of the Year because it was Kevin O'Connell. Yeah. And I don't know. For me, I mean, yeah, they like I personally don't see like the biggest reason why it was him, because okay, like Sam Darnold has been a starting quarterback in the league. Did he perform great and they got 14 wins? Yeah, sure. You know, that was great, but I don't know. You know, Dan Campbell won the division, beat them twice.
Right.
Did it with a much depleted defense. So, you know, there's that.
Right.
Let's see. There's Andy Reid, who won all but 2 games, and one of those were to, you know, one of them he played all of his backups. So and lost both of them on the road too. So there's that. Nick Sirianni, I don't know if he was up for it, but you know, after the year he had last season, he had a great comeback. Let's see, who else am I forgetting?
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn, who took who had the second worst team because they had the number 2 draft pick, a team that just hadn't been anywhere near the playoffs, drafted a quarterback, pulled that team together and did amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And Sean Payton, who had a $50 million cap hit, got pieces together and coached the hell out of the team that he had to make the playoffs. And a 10-win team that was supposed to be one of the worst teams in the league, and not even have over under 5.5 wins. So
I think Sean Payton was third one of the times I saw the betting odds. So I know he was pretty high, and I know Dan Campbell was also pretty high. I'm just really shocked on Kevin O'Connell.
Kevin O'Connell did. He pulled out stuff. He did great, but that team, yes, I just think it underperformed last year. They changed quarterbacks. I just feel that there were so many other more deserving coaches for what they did. For the Broncos being speculated to fall after Russell Wilson, to do better and have a quarterback that had the best rookie season for the franchise. I forget if you can actually, I don't know if the Commanders can say the same thing as far as, Jaden Daniels, but let's just say he had a great rookie season in general anyways, even if it was, so he had to have it if he broke some of the other rookie records.
Mm-hmm.
So so that's like two teams with rookie quarterbacks. The Chiefs, I don't know if Nick Sirianni was on it, but he bounced back, and most of all, Dan Campbell. Oh, and I forgot, Sean McDermott.
Yeah.
A team who, just like the Broncos, were just the same. Oh, it's a rebuild year. They lost all these names like Jordan Poyer, and I think like Tre'Davious White and Stephon Diggs. I forget, and they only had Josh Allen. They were all in for a rebuild.
Well, I mean, Josh Allen was all they needed. Josh Allen really was all they needed.
Right?
Needed to get as far as they did.
Right? But why were these, like, I just feel like any other coach but Kevin O'Connell I would have been okay with. I mean, some more than others. I can understand being slighted by and maybe making case for some over others, but every one of these coaches above Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, I would. It's like I feel like Kevin O'Connell was like backed by Brian Flores' defense, and like you have a lot of great players around there surrounding like Sam Darnold. So I mewant it's really easy to find success when you have arguably one of the best wide receivers in the game.
I want to add one other. Sean McVay from going from 1-4. Was it 1-4 or 1-5? I forget. But from being at the bottom to winning the division, winning a playoff game, and getting beaten by snow, basically.
Honestly, I think I feel like any of the coaches that actually won the division deserved it more. Or if not,
Unless your name was Sean or Dan.
Yes. Sean Payton did have more hurdles to jump over. And Sean McVay, I feel like Sean McVay had the most amount of hurdles that he went over. Everyone was talking about it. Are they going to trade Cooper? Trade Matthew Stafford?
There were, and I remember they lost to you. They could have, to the Dolphins. They could have given up, and they didn't.
That was our best win of the season.
It was. Anyways, my biggest problem with this is that I feel like when you knock out all of those coaches, as far as that they've won, the one thing that Kevin O'Connell hasn't done like the others, like every single one, made it far into the playoffs or won a Super Bowl. Like Sean McDermott at least made the AFC Championship game. Everybody else is either a Super Bowl winner or has coached in the Super Bowl, right? Well, Dan Campbell at least coached in the NFC Championship game last year.
Yeah.
So I don't know why it just it feels like he's not really the coach of the year as much as it's the you're the best second tier coach. Like, he's not a bad coach, don't get me wrong, but
how are you supposed to tell me the team that came in second in the division's coach was more worthy than the guy who came in first in the division's coach?
Exactly.
That just shows you everyone had a low opinion on Sam Darnold, and that Sam Darnold looked like a great quarterback.
He probably would have won comeback player of the year if they didn't change.
It changed the rule to he had to come back from something,
from injury or something.
And I'm sure Joe Burrow wants to stop winning the award.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's just really what it is that everyone had a low opinion on Sam Darnold, and that he made Sam Darnold look great, and probably going to get Sam Darnold paid.
Right?
It is.
Not as much as he could have. Sam Darnold was a lot of money, I think, but who was the executive of the year?
I believe that was not. I think that was a different thing that it did. I don't think it was like an NFL honor. I think it was a different one, but it was Brad Holmes from the Lions.
I mean, I was gonna say I didn't realize that wasn't an NFL honor award or the AP voting on it, but
I think it was the Pro Football Awards.
Oh, okay.
Let me check the full.
Either way, he is deserving in his own right for that. Just because some of the moves they made, getting players off the and making good deals and stuff to be and finding pieces and stuff like that. I mean, you can definitely give it to Howie Roseman as well, but he's got another Super Bowl ring, so.
Right. And Howie Roseman did good.
I mean, Brad Holmes would like the Super Bowl ring.
Right? Brad Holmes did good, but like you can only do so much when your entire team gets depleted, like as we were saying earlier.
Now, that was the biggest surprise for me.
Oh, they actually have assistant coach of the year as well.
Oh, in the NFL.
Yeah.
Who won that?
Ben Johnson.
Okay. I mean, I'm good with that.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like MVP, Josh Allen, just it made sense to me. Like I know the Lamar people, like Lamar lovers, and like don't get me wrong, I've come around on Lamar, but he didn't. I think it's Lamar fatigue.
Lamar won it last year for his stuff this year. If Lamar didn't win last year, he would have won this year.
If Dak, I think, had better stats in a lot of those things. If Dak won it, CMC should have won it, or Tyreek Hill should have won it.
Yeah.
If any of those three had won it, Lamar would have won it this year. It wouldn't have been about just giving it to Josh Allen. It was about it basically was they set their own precedent of giving it to Lamar last year by not having the greatest stats. That he had a better season than his 2 MVP seasons. They couldn't award him it because they said it themselves. He had like 9 Pro Bowl. I think he had like 8 other Pro Bowlers. There were 9 Ravens Pro Bowlers, including himself. Meanwhile, Josh Allen and Deion Dawkins were the only Pro Bowlers for the Bills.
Basically, it's like we've talked about this before. It was about the narrative and more than the stats. And Josh Allen literally carried his team to the playoffs. You know, he should have. And he almost carried the team to the Super Bowl. He should have because that stupid ref.
The refs, yeah. Anyways, what was it? So like I was okay with Josh Allen winning. Plus, I actually don't think Lamar really wanted it when all is said and done, because can you imagine being the 3-time MVP without being to a Super Bowl?
I know, right?
I think that would have crushed him in some his mental health in a lot of ways. Like I think it really would have like bothered him and put more pressure on him. So I think in some ways he's relieved, and he might not admit it, except for maybe to if he has a therapist or anything like that, and that's perfectly fine. But I can understand that kind of pressure, being like everybody else, like John Elway and Steve, I think Brett Favre and John Brady, Peyton Manning, all these quarterbacks that had multiple ones.
I think they'll. I don't know what the Ravens can do, but they are going to get new. Every team's getting new players this season, but I hope that the Ravens or the Bills. Well, I mean, I actually don't. Legitimately, let's be. I hope the Ravens and the Bills, if they are in it and like our teams don't surpass them, have a shot, as long as it's not the Chiefs.
Right. I feel like they missed their shot this year because it was 12 years after the last one and 24 out. It was every 12 years, and it was in New Orleans again too. So
right, every year, the last 2 years of the Dragon were the Ravens.
So anyway.
At least it was still a bird team.
Wait, Year of the Dragon? Oh, for the season. That was it.
For the season.
They were all
the year afterward, but we count them for the first. They were all the year of the snake, but it was for the year of that.
Right. No, I got you now.
Yeah, 2000 and 2012 and 2024 were all year of the dragons.
So, anyways,
Even if the Super Bowl was in the year.
Yeah. At least the last one was. I don't know if the first one was.
Right.
Because the Chinese New Year always moves.
Yeah.
Like the Jewish New Year. I mean, as far as the calendar, is it the Gregorian calendar or the regular calendar that everybody pretty much uses? So.
That Caesar fucked up.
Yes. Anyways, what other awards? Gosh, I will say I'm very I'm mixed on offensive rookie of the year. So there were a couple of things. Like for as much as Jaden Daniels did, Bo Nix actually did as much, if not did better in some categories actually.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if you have those stats on you or not, just to go over. But the one that bothers me, yes, I'm shocked I'm going to say this as a Broncos fan. I honestly thought it should have been Brock Bowers.
You mentioned that earlier when we were talking about it, but yeah, I kind of agree that.
Yeah. No, I'm just like I'm still shocked about it. Like I'm shocked that it wasn't.
It should have been Brock Bowers because just like last year, what does a fucking skills player have to do to beat a quarterback for this award? They break every record possible for their position, and the quarterback just does slightly good or slightly above good, and they win it because it's a quarterback driven league and it's ridiculous. You really just need to give quarterback award, just make quarterback awards so we can or maybe we should just have best rookie, because you kind of want to highlight more than just them. I mean, there's good rookie running backs, good rookie wide receivers, good rookie tight ends, good rookie offensive linemen, and they're never going to win these awards if we that quarterback did something, it did slightly above average. I mean, it was slightly above good. I don't think Jaden Daniels was great. I'm not taking that away from him. It's just that Brock Bowers was the best in his overall, the best tight end in football, breaking records. If he's what does you have to do?
Right. And if I got the stats correct, I was just going to add on to the whole Bo Nix thing. Bo had 29 touchdowns to Jaden Daniels 25.
This is, this is what I think the unfair thing is, that I feel like they're counting quarterback wins as a stat.
Right. Well,
and tight end and the other skill position players can't win games.
Well, and and he had 200 more yards. Bo did. So, but I will say this. I don't think Rookie of the Year is that big of a deal when it comes to that, because there have been some really great Rookies of the Years, and I don't want this to happen to Jaden Daniels, but a lot of them have fallen off, and I guess I'd rather it be not the Denver Broncos quarterback that falls off. So I don't know what's gonna happen to C.J. Stroud, but so that first year might just be we'll see what happens in the second.
Wait, did Robert Griffin III win Rookie of the Year?
Okay, well, he got hurt.
I'm just saying, there were just Rookie of the Year doesn't mean
Yeah. Well, let's just say quarterback wise. Okay, we'll just start. C.J. Stroud had a little bit of it all here. Look at Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Cam Newton has had the best out of the careers, but his ended really short. Matt Ryan had a good career. Mm-hmm. So and Ben Roethlisberger. So, but Vince Young also won it. So,
right, it's a journey, not a sprint. It's like a marathon, not a sprint.
Right. Meanwhile, the defensive ones have been some of the best. So
I figured Jared Verse. I figured Jared Verse was going to win because he seemed like the biggest one.
Right.
If Chop Robinson did better in the earlier in the season, I could have seen him. I think he was 3 in the betting odds or something. He was doing really well towards the end, which makes me happy for the next season and other seasons coming up with him. But maybe hopefully it's for the Rams, hoping that Jared Verse is the next Aaron Donald.
Right.
Who, ironically, I think Aaron Donald was the last Rams player to win it, Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. Let me see. Sometimes it works out. Defense is a lot better because there's a lot of those names on there that are still playing great and playing strong. Mm-hmm. I think the only one that may have gone wrong might be not having PS2. They had Michael Parsons, but anyways, trying to think of other, like you said, Joe Burrow, comeback player of the year.
Right, I'm sure, if I was comeback player, if I was I know he's 2-time comeback player of the year, you want to not be comeback player of the year anymore. That means, because especially now, you don't want to come back from anything.
Right.
It's not an award you want to keep winning.
right? Other one, offensive player of the year was Saquon.
That's good.
And unless I'm missing anyone, my personal favorite was PS2 winning Defensive Player of the Year. It was so great to see a cornerback win it. I
Right.
feel like people finally have acknowledged him that he is the greatest cornerback in the game. People can shut the fuck up about Sauce Gardner. Because he gets a lot. The refs did not see him do a lot of the stuff he did, and then he kind of just he was like a non-factor most of this year for.
Right, I swear they did better when he was off the field.
It felt like that.
But
And I will say, like, even in my opinion, as far as these like young cornerbacks and stuff, like I think Derek Stanley Jr. moved up to like number 2.
something like that. I mean, I'm glad a cornerback did it. I really wish like Xavier Howard did it in the year when he had like 10 interceptions, which was like really something special for like a cornerback to do. But that was still during Aaron Donald's time, so you know.
Right. I'll be honest with you. Like he just shut down like everybody because honestly, I think I'm guessing maybe the voters were tired of the same people winning because like last year, you cannot tell me I'm still shocked that Deron Bland did not win it for his record-breaking 6 pick sixes in the season.
Yeah, no, Deron Bland should have won it. They kept it's like it's like they said, a quarterback-driven league. So like the pass rushers. The people that stop it get it. It's like the quarterbacks do the same freaking do the job too of stopping the quarterbacks.
It's a different way of stopping it, but that's why PS2 was rewarded with this, and it's great. And one thing about the Broncos front office I'm happy about: he signed his contract before he won the award. Before last season, during the offseason. So, and that still doesn't kick in for another year, I think. So we'll have the Russ dead cap money off by the start of that contract. Very happy. Maybe Nick Bonito can win it next season. Boy, he's not a Bronco anymore. Who knows? I don't know. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with overall with how the awards went. Like I said,
the awards went pretty well. There was one part of it that I think we both didn't like.
When DirecTV didn't air it because it said it was airing on Fox.
Besides that, and I meant about the Hall of Fame.
Oh, forgot about that. That was so bad. You know, that I completely
block it out of your head.
Yeah, there are some players that I'm just shocked. Like Eli Manning, like you can make cases like I don't know, like he had a lot of he didn't he won 2 Super Bowls. I know he didn't always do the greatest, but he had I think he had a better career overall than Phillip Rivers, and even if they tied in Super Bowls and stuff or wins and stuff, I think he had a better career than Ben Roethlisberger too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he stopped a season that could have been the perfect season, 19-0. He had an Iron Man streak going that only stopped because they benched him. One of the idiot coaches did that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think that I think that there was a little bit of a time frame that if he might have been able to still do well if they had better coaching with him and Saquon and drafted better on the offense.
Right? The Giants should have done. The Giants just hired badly. Hired badly with coaches during the end of Eli's career. They had a lot of pieces that if they had the right coaching staff, they could have gone places. And the other disappointment, besides Eli not making it in, I don't understand why they only had 4 people inducted into the Hall of Fame this season. The last 2 seasons had 7 and 8 respectively. This is half.
Right, and I'm looking at the finalists. First of all, first of all, Mike Shanahan didn't make the finalists for the Hall of Fame, but Mike Holmgren did. Holmgren should have been in as like the coach senior. Like that was a special spot. Like that would have like that could have been one. And then I'm looking like I'm happy Jared Allen made it, but I mean Antonio Gates made it. But like Torrey Holt was great. You know, Super Bowl. Like Steve Smith should have made it. I do not understand why Darren Woodson didn't make it. 3 Super Bowls. Terrell Suggs should have made it because he was dominant just as much as he was next to Ray Lewis. Like it was he was dominant too. I mean man had the nickname T Sizzle. I can understand like Luke Kuechly, but Adam Vinatieri, like he was the greatest kicker, and still like I still think he should have been in. I'm very happy Jared Allen made it in, but I'm
happy for the ones that got in. I just don't understand why it was 4.
Well, it was in some ways it was actually 3 because Sterling Sharp was under the senior list, so that's a separate category where Mike Holmgren could have made it too. So they could have done like 5 like of the, and it's only gonna get like. There's only going to be more because I think Ben Roethlisberger. No, it was Drew Brees who retired. So like I don't think Drew and Eli go in together. I honestly, it just didn't feel like usually you want to have like that big headliner, and is it just like don't get me wrong, I love Jared Allen and I love and I can Antonio Gates, I get for Chargers fans, but and this, it's like, but like maybe I didn't, I don't know, maybe I didn't really respect his game and see it. Like maybe I've got to go look back, but like I just remember being like, Tony Gonzalez was like the tight end, of that time for me, and I know he played, I know like when I think tight ends during like Antonio Gates, like I truly think of I'm just double checking his playing career. Yeah, from 2003 to 2018, I'm just thinking like Tony Gonzalez, like Dallas Clark, Gronk, Jeremy Shockey. I mean, I guess it looks like he had 116. It looks like he had 116 touchdowns. So that does look pretty impressive. So maybe it's just because they didn't win anything. I just
Well, so like it's been the last time we had 4 people inducted into the Hall of Fame was 2005, so it's like 20 years since then.
Wow.
And back like kind of the early 2000s had like a few people in like that time. And apparently I guess you can't have 2 headliners. You can have multiple headliners in there because in 2005 Dan Marino and Steve Young both made it in. And
I thought like Jerry Rice and Dion made it or something, or Emmett.
And before that in 2004 it was John Elway and Barry Sanders. So I guess Drew and Eli both can make it in.
Right. I guess I don't know tight end play as well as I thought. Man. Okay. So and I take back. I guess with Antonio Gates, I never really paid attention to the Chargers because they were always that team. I guess they're like kind of the Ravens right now, where they make one championship game and then fall apart in it, and I don't think about them because Tony Gonzalez is definitely like I was mistaken with some of those names that I said. Like they did not do nearly as good as I thought. So my mistake. Tony Gonzalez did, but Dallas Clark and Jeremy Shockey did not. Man, he even did better than Shannon Sharp. So shame that man. He's just played for the Chargers the whole way.
Right. No, I knew Gates's yards were pretty solid.
I just didn't realize how many touchdowns he made. Like, so my apologies, Antonio Gates fans, and to him, I was mistaken. But I guess that's what happens when your team peaked from like 2000 and for the 2000s and like from like I think 2006 to 2010. 2000 something. I don't know. There weren't. I mean, where you had a few good years in there, and then the Broncos and now the Chiefs have just taken. Were in charge of the division. You kind of wasted a lot of it. So that's probably why I don't really remember your era of greatness.
I mean, they were stuck during the time of like what, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and like Ben Roethlisberger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was Philip Rivers was there, but like you didn't win the top. You were like the number one seed and didn't win the AFC Championship game. So
Yeah, that's the year that's the year I remember. No one, and you know, like I mean, they haven't won the division since the 2000s.
Yep, know that feeling.
Yeah, I think you both won the division maybe around the same time.
I think we've won it later than.
I forget when they won. You won it in like what, 08?
Yeah.
I forget when they might have won it in 08 or 09.
Biggest turnaround for the Dolphins of 2007, getting the number one pick. 2008, winning the division. Then it's just been pure mediocrity since.
Oh, you know what? I think they won it in 2010, maybe. Wait, let me just go check. Checking. Yep, 2009. Yeah, they won it. They won it in 04, 06, 07, 08, and 09. Dang, my mistake. They didn't even make it to the. They didn't even. That was like LaDainian Tomlinson's MVP year, and they didn't even make it to the championship round. They lost in the divisional round to the Patriots. So again, that is why I forgot about what you could do, Antonio Gates. My apologies. Your teams just couldn't get over the hump. You probably should have. But yes, other than that, anything else for the Hall of Fame?
I just think really, I think we've covered a lot, and I really just feel like there should have been more than 4.
Yes.
Like, you have so many players and so many coaches that
even if it wasn't Eli, there should have been more.
Mike Holmgren, Adam Vinatieri, besides Eli Manning, others that deserve to be
Terrell
in there.
Suggs, Terry Holt.
Yeah, they all deserve to be in there. Like, this is just ridiculous.
Some of these players had great careers and had and maybe just win one Super Bowl, but and there are some people in there that don't even win a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And still make it in. So, like Antonio Gates.
Right?
But no, Terry Holt was a part of the greatest show on turf. All right. So, other than that, the only other real news that I remember seeing is that the Jets are not going to keep Aaron Rodgers around. Do you think he'll find a starting job somewhere or not?
Well, as we've heard on...
Well, forget what you've heard. What did you actually think?
Well, I was just going to say, I agree with the sentiment that there are not, 32 great quarterbacks. There's 32 teams. They don't all have a quarterback.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think he'll find a starting job somewhere. Especially with the idea of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, if my top 2 teams are Pittsburgh, if they do not want to re-sign Justin Fields, which I think they could get him at a pretty good price and try and develop him, or he goes to the Dolphins to learn and develop, or one of the great offensive minds. That being said, I actually think that he ends up in Tennessee. I can see Tennessee drafting a quarterback to learn behind him. It might be like a Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix situation, but as long as Aaron's aware of that, I can see Devontae Adams going with them. I think that would be the best fit for him because if he can get, anything out of Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he's worked with Joe Burrow. I think that they can, there's some similarities there in the whole pocket, being a pocket passer and stuff like that. And the only other option is if the Vikings don't re-sign Sam Darnold and they do the funniest thing and he follows in Brett Favre's footsteps once again.
I think I don't know if I don't know if he would compete for a starting job and let JJ continue to learn, heal and learn. So there is a good possibility for Minnesota for Aaron.
Yeah.
Tennessee, I agree with because
they have a chance to win the division too.
Yeah, Tennessee, you don't know if whoever you're going to draft at Tennessee, you can let them learn. You don't need to feed them to the wolves. Not everyone is C.J. Stroud.
Right. Well,
not everyone's Jaden Daniels, and you know.
Well, and here's the big thing with Tennessee. If you love Travis Hunter and want him to he wouldn't be bad on offense. He'd be great on defense. You can make him see how he plays both sides of the ball. If he wants to play both, let him play both. Like you know, like they've got a good defense, an offensive minded coach. It could work out. It could be a really good pick for Travis Hunter and a good pickup for a good pickup for the Titans to pick up Aaron Rodgers if he's got anything left.
Honestly, that's why I like the idea of him with, I would say, either the Steelers or the Vikings would be better, because I feel like he would be more under control in a situation in Pittsburgh because of how Mike Tomlin is. I feel like he needs to be under someone that he can work with and get along with, and not feel like understand that his ego, he's not like being an egomaniac in control like how Russ was in Denver.
I mean, yes, but the other thing with Tennessee is that I
think Tennessee could possibly cave to Aaron Rodgers and be problematic.
First of all, I mean, if it's a 1 year thing, that's the thing. Going into it, even with the Vikings and probably the Steelers, I think they need to sign Justin Fields so that they can get some stability in at the quarterback. With the Vikings, it's a short-term solution. Like, it's a 1 year deal, and JJ might even take over. With the Titans, you could draft somebody in the second round, get somebody that like Jackson Dart. He could learn, and I don't know if Jackson Dart, that might be too high for him, but if just anybody that you could learn from Aaron Rodgers and let Aaron Rodgers know it's a 1 year deal, and there's a chance, if he knows, it could be a good way to pass on the knowledge to somebody who's young. I mean, that also might be a great reason why to bring him to the Minnesota so that JJ McCarthy could learn from him too.
I agree that as long as he can, as long as he takes the offseason seriously. And
I feel like he's going to, with the way that the situation unfolded. Like, he went to meet with the Jets in person. It was it was a business thing. I think he took it serious, and I don't think he wants to end his career as badly as it went. So, I mean, I'll be honest, if, with the weapons that they have, I think the Vikings would be the best place, and to let JJ get that knowledge could be, invaluable to him. So Vikings might actually be the best place to go. So I kind of talked myself into that one now.
Oh, the Vikings are good. I mean, on paper, and when you subtract all the ego of Aaron Rodgers, and if you can get that out of him, that does sound like a good place. But he needs to be able to, develop chemistry with the wide receivers and the rest of the team. And if Kevin O'Connell can get back out of get him in, then I feel like that the Vikings would be a good spot. I feel like
he's going to be a Cleveland Brown.
That's why I think the whole Steelers thing, Mike Tomlin would be able to keep him better in check. But
he's going to be a Cleveland Brown.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like the Browns. The most Browns-esque move you can Brown, but actually, I mean, if you get Devontae Adams and Jerry Jeudy there, that sounds better than anything you'd get out of Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Not the worst move. Literally, if you went to the Browns, it would not be a bad move.
And there's also the Raiders. But anyways, the only other thing I was going to say as far as, one thing I forget if I mentioned, if I double-checked, but if I said Cooper DeJean was a safety, he's actually, I guess a gadget player on defense. He plays nickel. He's like a nickel cornerback. He's a defensive back. Yeah. He plays cornerback, safety, and sometimes linebacker. At least he played linebacker in college. So I mean, different levels. So it's not at all surprising that you could call him everything. I mean, as far as being a defensive back Swiss Army knife. All right, so I think that's pretty much it. Anything else to add? I did have one thing I could think of. I know nobody was getting fired, but after some of the things that they
the repercussions of teams that these coaches want, and players won.
Well, first one on the list, Joe Shane should be fired for letting Saquon walk out that building, for building around Daniel Jones, all that. Horrible mistake. Yeah, just horrible. And you had draft picks that were better than the Eagles, where you could have drafted every single one of these players.
Right.
And I mean, I don't think Dable's a bad coach, but I think if you would have given this talent, they could have been a lot better. Number two, Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel.
Yes, that was the thing I didn't know if we wanted to go into, but I was thinking, so if Vic Fangio did this well for the Eagles, so that just says that the Dolphins did not have the best players on defense if they couldn't be that good with Vic Fangio, and the play calling with Mike McDaniel seemed to be sus. It seemed to go down the wayside. The end of the year when we had Vic Fangio, so the question is, do they both stink?
Well, I was gonna say, I think Vic Fangio was a little frustrated with some of the stuff that was going on, and I know we talked about that one player who never made the field because Fangio didn't like him. Maybe he didn't do stuff that Fangio liked, and now that Fangio's defense won a Super Bowl, I feel like maybe as a Dolphins fan you owe him an apology.
Well, based on I only owe that. Based on I didn't believe in the Eagles the entire season. Like based on I said their coordinators are going to make them fall off somewhere. They didn't. So
fall off right into a Super Bowl championship.
Well, first, I mean, the big part was thank you for stopping the three-peat, so I'm happy to be wrong here. Because, man, I would have said, I didn't care if they made the Super Bowl, if they would have lost, I would have went off on them. Like, they're the whole reason they lost. But yeah, no, it really just shows that the quality that Greer is not getting the quality of players that we need to. The coaching staff's not getting the quality out of them, and that the play calling is problematic. And I think they both should be thrown out next year if we don't win a playoff game.
I'd be okay if you didn't win a playoff game if you actually won the division.
Yeah, I guess that's fine. If we win the division and can't win a playoff game, I'm going to be so pissed because it would be a home game.
Actually, if you make wild card, you just need to win the playoff game. I don't think there's any. I don't actually think division banner means much.
We need the playoff win with how many years it's been.
Yeah, because you won a division more recently than winning a playoff game. So
yeah, no.
So and the third one, and I blame the refs a little bit more. I don't really think he's gonna get fired, and but I know we kind of talked maybe Sean McDermott, but I think he's okay.
Yeah, Sean McDermott, like, I don't think that... I don't know what they're supposed to do. Like, I don't know who they can find that... Like, unless... Like, if they lose in the playoffs next season again, and, like, they might lose Joe Brady, then, maybe they just elevate Joe Brady if they look really good next season. But I just don't see who. Yeah. I just don't see who would be better than Sean McDermott right now.
Well, Joe Brady. The big thing with Joe Brady is that they gotta. I mean, if they don't win, then do they consider making him the head coach? Mm-hmm. But other than that, I think that's about it as far as the repercussions. Because I was gonna say, actually the one. The ones that it also kind of hurts. I feel like because of the kind of stature, leadership, and abilities, and kind of builds and stuff. I mean, I know Jalen Hurts is taller than Kyler Murray, but I do think Kyler Murray starting position is in trouble, and not just to add on to the Dolphins with Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer, but it must feel horrible to have drafted Tua and Waddle before and seeing, and they must happy and frustrated at the same time to see their former teammates win a Super Bowl in Devonta Smith and Jalen Hurts. So that's another.
Right, I think that's just another thing of Howie Roseman. Like I would have rather had the Dolphins trade for AJ Brown over Tyreek Hill. It's like they feel like the superior version of us.
Well, that's similar things. First of all, the Titans were so dumb that should have never ever happened. Like Mike Vrabel didn't want that to happen. That was, I think,
no. They drafted like Traylon Burks, who's like an AJ Brown type. Oh, and Traylon Burks has not turned into AJ Brown. So, and look at where you are now, Tennessee. You used to you were like the number one seed, I think. And now you don't have any of your top weapons, and you're in the number one. Now you're drafting number one. Like the hell, the drop off is crazy. But I mean, like the Texans were number one, dropped off, and now we're back to being number one. So maybe the Titans can get back there too. You just need the right kind of leadership and right kind of general manager. You can go from worst to first.
Yeah, especially if somebody keeps, like you said, falls off. I mean, like the Jags did, and that's how the Texans came back. So who knows what will happen with the Titans next season?
Right.
All right, now I think we're good.
Yeah, I got to have that final part with the Dolphins.
All right, so thank you for joining us. This will be our final NFL podcast for the 2024 season. We can't wait. We'll probably talk some stuff soon with the combine, free agency, and stuff in the a few weeks. Check out. We'll have an NBA one coming up soon, and we should be starting a WWE podcast under the same channel. So keep an eye out for that, and give us a like, share, subscribe, any feedback you may have. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you here next time. Bye.